Whether or not the stock market is pricing correctly in a devastating double-dip recession remains to be seen. But gold bugs are still betting that more trouble is coming. Gold hit a record price today of $1,830 an ounce during the trading day. This has my next guest ringing the bell on why the United States dollar should return to the gold standard, a practice ended by President Richard Nixon 40 years ago this week. Does he see a growing likelihood of a return to the gold standard? Here to discuss is the one and only Lou Lehrman. I say one and only not because we're friends, but because you have come to personify the wisdom of the gold standard in America. So, Lou, make for me, in as short a period as time as you can, the case for returning to a gold standard so that the dollar is backed by gold as it was until 40 years ago this Monday.
The case for the gold standard is really the case for American prosperity. America grew from 13 impoverished colonies by the sea at the founding into the biggest, the richest, and the most powerful country in the world, always under the gold standard. That is to say, the dollar was defined in statute as a certain weight of gold. It gave people confidence to save, to invest.
When the dollar is defined in law as a certain weight of gold, can the Federal Reserve print cash and flood the market with cash? Can the government spend more money than it takes in, as we have been witnessing for the past 100 years?
Well, exactly, Judge. No. The answer is no. The Federal Reserve is bound by the law to redeem every dollar in circulation, demand deposits, paper currency, in a certain weight unit of gold. And that requires the banks to be prepared on demand when someone walks into a bank and hands them currency or tells them they want to convert their bank deposits into gold to do so. And thus, the Federal Reserve and the banking system are required to reduce the quantity of money and credit, ending inflation.
I know that obviously Richard Nixon is dead and you weren't inside his brain, but do you think he understood the ramifications, the long-term effect of the executive order he signed on August 15th, 1971, when he closed the gold window, or separated forever, because no president has revoked it, the dollar from gold?
No, he did not. But it's almost a scandal that he was surrounded at that time by some of the most famous establishment economists in America, who advocated not only the end of the gold standard, or I should say a form of the gold standard that Bretton Woods represented, which was a very flawed form, but nevertheless, it stabilized the dollar more so than it has today. But he did not, he was determined to change the American economic system. He imposed the first peacetime wage and price controls in American history. He imposed a 10% tariff unilaterally on all important goods, and he devalued the dollar.
All right. About 15 years after President Nixon did this, there would come a time when you and Ron Paul would author a minority report on gold. And that minority report would basically suggest to then-President Ronald Reagan that we should return to the gold standard. When Lou Lehrman asked Ronald Reagan to put us back on the gold standard, what did Ronald Reagan say to Lou Lehrman?
Well, he did, in fact, ask that question, and in the privacy of his quarters. And I gave him a 3-page memorandum on how we can get from here to there. I explained it as carefully as he had time to listen. He said, I've always been sympathetic to the gold standard. As a matter of fact, there is a commercial outstanding, which I have seen, which is going to be aired, which shows Ronald Reagan advocating a dollar backed by gold.
Wow. We have just a few seconds. Yes or no? Will we return to the gold standard in your lifetime and mine?
Shorter than that, within the next 5 years.
Oh, you're such an optimist. Lou Lehrman, it's a pleasure. Thank you for joining us. The government goes after S&P.